You saw my review of Final Fantasy IX, you saw all of the excitement in the comments, you've seen the game rise to the top of the charts in the eShop. Final Fantasy has landed on the Nintendo Switch. I'm sure you're all busy chipping away at Zidane and the gang's adventure, but not too far on the horizon is another entry that has people foaming at the mouth, especially me. Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII remains one of the most popular video games of all time. Debuting on the Sony PlayStation in 1997, this was for many their first taste of the legendary series and of JRPGs in general. At the time it was universally acclaimed by pretty much everyone, although nowadays there's a weighty backlash against this popular entry. I claimed it to be my favourite of the series in my review of Final Fantasy IX, and your reactions said it all. No taste, lost respect, it sucks, and all those lovely kind of things. But instead of locking myself in my bedroom and crying about how nobody likes me anymore, I'm going on the counterattack. I'm here to tell you why Final Fantasy VII is still awesome in 2019. I feel like a minority these days, or maybe those who adore this game don't want to spout their love for it for fear of being branded as a person with no taste, hounded out of town because how dare you like such a popular entry, you sheep. But fear not, I'm speaking up for you. Take a stand, Final Fantasy VII fans, lose your shame, show your love for this now uncool but legendary entry. 7 reasons Final Fantasy VII is still awesome in 2019. Without a doubt, Final Fantasy VII has one of the most memorable plots of all time. It starts off with simple enough beginnings as the main character Cloud is hired by a band of eco-terrorists. Shinra, the all-powerful corporation, is sucking the world dry of its energy and they want to stop them. Fair enough. But what follows is a world-spanning adventure as Cloud and his ever-increasing gang set out to follow Sephiroth to find out and scupper his plans. It's a roller coaster ride of locations, situations, and everything pretty much going to pot at every opportunity. It is full of misery and despair as everyone in the world is down in the dumps or suffering in some way thanks to the heartless corporation. Unless you live in the Costa del Sol, that is. I'd love to live there. What's in store for you in Final Fantasy VII is a twist-filled adventure full of likeable and deplorable people in equal measure. Some spectacular set pieces, and events that are genuinely inventive and ambitious, especially for the time. You'll traverse the northern continent where your heart will break, you'll explore the bottom of the ocean and the highest mountains, from decrepit towns to the neon lights and heights of the Gold Saucer. You'll think about who you are, what your meaning is, and everything you've ever believed will be put into doubt. It has its heavy moments, but the brevity is there too, and thinking about the plot, the locations, and the interactions is like a warm, comfy blanket to me. It's genuinely very good, and I think it holds up remarkably well to this day. All Final Fantasies have their fair share of whimsy and tongue-in-cheek humour, but 7 is easily the weirdest of the bunch. I imagine that as a kid I wasn't particularly aware of just how all over the place this is, as Cloud cross-dresses, rides dolphins at platforms, having Cloud and Barret go on a romantic date together. It's just endless absurdity, made all the more funnier thanks to the mostly straight-faced characters and misery-filled story. Cloud is cocky, cold-shouldered, and answers to no one, yet here he is time and time again put into just the weirdest situations without batting an eyelid. I don't think many people think of this when they think of Final Fantasy VII. For some reason they think it's overly surly and serious, perhaps because of the spin-offs and the main bad guy wearing a black cloak walking through fire. Don't be fooled, however, despite the impending doom of the world, there's always a bit of time to visit a haunted house, do squats in the gym with buff guys, as well as plenty of other lovely situations you'll find yourself in. Nobuo Uematsu is a legend. I've said it before, I'll say it time and time again. I didn't have many idols growing up, but this fella was certainly one of them. If you don't know him, then he's only one of the most celebrated video game composers of all time, and for me, his work on Final Fantasy VII is one of his most memorable efforts. While the technology behind the audio in this one wasn't quite right compared to the later PlayStation 1 games, the tunes and compositions are some of the most renowned of all time. One Winged Angel, Aeris theme are regularly cited as the cream of the video game crop. If I close my eyes while listening to this soundtrack, which I did import from Japan by the way, it brings back a flood of memories and emotions. It holds up immensely well to this day, and modern video game composers could only dream of creating something so memorable. Aeris' theme is probably my favourite alongside Tifa's theme. How about you? What is your favourite song in Final Fantasy VII? When browsing the pantheon of Final Fantasy games and their party members, even the best of the series are home to a few duff throwaway heroes. I'm taking cover right now, but even great entries such as Final Fantasy IX and VI have an Amaranth for every Vivi and a Realm for every Terra. Please don't hurt me, you know it's true. Anyways, Final Fantasy VII is one of the few games where all of the cast members feel like fully developed characters and have their part to play in the plot. While they are exaggerated people in an exaggerated world, you can relate to them because they are not perfect by any means. They are flawed, many of them broken thanks to the evil corporation they want to take down. Cid, Barrett, Red 13, even a secret character like Vincent, spoiler alert, have an interesting history. I really like every character here, and no, Cloud is not an emo, he's actually pretty goofy, as I've already said. Need I mention the villain of the story, easily the most iconic video game bad guy of all time? Let's face it, back in the 90s, Sephiroth was cool as hell. A man of few words who, when did speak, you paid attention to every last sentence. And if things started to go down, you know he'd save the day, because yes, Sephiroth began life as a hero. Soldier, first class, and an idol to our main character Cloud. When you're eventually up against him, you'll be terrified because you know exactly what he's capable of. A truly menacing foe. Final Fantasy is known for having some great side distractions away from the main story. 10 had Blitzball, and we're all aware of Triple Triad in 8. And no, I don't care what you guys say, Tetramaster is pants. Just joking, I'm happy you enjoy that convoluted nonsense. For me, 7 is home to a few fun side quests too. You have the Gold Saucer, which can distract you with various minigames that I enjoyed, and Fort Condor provided an excellent little tower defense kind of game. But it's the Chocobo side of things that really took me away from the main story for a disgusting amount of hours. Like most games in the series, you can find and ride Chocobos, but capturing them, taking them to your farm, and letting them get down to business was a treat back in the day. You can create a few different colours with different attributes, and some of the later ones are needed in order to access secret areas and get your mitts on the best summon in the game, Knights of the Round, which is well worth it, I may add. Did I mention you could race them at the Gold Saucer? Oh yes, it's a lot of fun too, and I spent so many hours on this back in the day. It's not quite Triple Triad, but it's close for me. I always felt like Square should have made a Chocobo racing game, and lo and behold, one actually did come, but it wasn't quite the fleshed out version of this minigame that I was hoping for. It was more like a Mario Kart clone, and not a very good one at that. Still, this LSD trip of a race course will certainly occupy your time enough. The Materia system is one of the best gimmicks on offer in any Final Fantasy game in my opinion. This is where pretty much any character can equip any ability if they attach the little orbs known as Materia on their weapons or accessory. It comes with its pros and its cons, but the combinations able to be conjured is actually very exciting and rewards experimentation. In this regard, pretty much anyone can be your healer or summoner, or you can just equip everyone with a slapdash of stuff and still have fun. The system also means it's wide open for potentially breaking the game, making you pretty much a god if you have certain things equipped. Not that that's likely to happen in your first playthrough or without doing prior research, so you don't have to worry about that at all if you're just playing casually. Experimenting is fun, and finding a new magic spell or summon materia is always a treat. It's a shame that Square didn't stick with this system for another entry or bring it back later, maybe due to balancing issues, but it really is my favourite that they've ever done compared to the other restrictive ability systems. Before we get into the Final Fantasy VII point, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to receive all our latest content. We focus on the Nintendo Switch, so be prepared for some lovely Nintendo Switch reviews of those Final Fantasy games, especially Final Fantasy VII, of course, my favourite game of all time. This port of Final Fantasy VII is coming with a few additions to the original that many of us played on the PlayStation over 20 years ago. In this edition, you'll have access to a few boosters in order to speed up the process of what can be a time-consuming genre. Firstly, you can literally speed up the game by 3 times, so everything happens 300% faster than normal. This will make random battles a breeze, especially against lower enemies where you don't really need to think about what you need to do. If you want to bypass them altogether, then you can take advantage of the no random encounter feature. At the press of a button, you can stop all random encounters from happening, which allows you to explore areas without the hassle of being hounded every few seconds while walking around. If you want to fully own the game, then you're welcome to increase your stats to the max too, making any enemy water off a duck's back. This is for those who just want to enjoy the story. Personally, I don't find the last one necessary, but the previous 2 can really smooth out the experience at select points. I don't think sparse usage of these just to save your precious time is something to be ashamed about. I think they're great additions. For me, the biggest addition to this experience will be the continue feature. If you die at any point, usually you're sent back to the title screen and you'll have to reload from your last save. These new ports, however, means that you don't have any time wasted at all. You can just jump right back in, basically from where you just died, giving you as many shots as you need. It's a real time saver and can stop those demoralizing defeats, giving you the courage to carry on playing through this excellent game. Another great addition is that of the slightly higher resolution graphics. The models of the characters are completely done up to higher definition. Now, that's not saying much considering they still look like Lego men, but I wouldn't want it any other way. I've seen mods of making the overworld characters look more like their battle models, and it just looks plain ugly and wrong. Sure, they lack the details of what we saw in Final Fantasy IX, but there's so much charm to them. The battle models look great on the other hand, even enemies have been souped up, and it's really night and day. I guess it's the little things that please me. So Final Fantasy VII will be releasing on the Nintendo Switch and Xbox One on March 26th. Will you be there, or will you be too busy furiously typing in the comments section about how this one sucks? Either way, let us know. I love Final Fantasy VII, it's genuinely my favourite game of all time, and if you disagree with that, that's fine, I understand it. If you think 9 or 6 is the best, good for you, I'm genuinely happy for you. Even if you say 10 Part 2 is your favourite, all the power to you. Let's all be happy about people liking different things and have a polite discussion about it. If everyone liked exactly the same thing, the world would be an incredibly boring place. I hope you look forward to my review of Final Fantasy VII a few days after release. In the meantime, if you didn't watch my review of Final Fantasy IX, then head over to watch that and I'll see you over there. Take care.